What's going on, YouTube? This is Jim Athanas, aka Viper Magic, accompanied today by the wonder dog Sophie. And we wanted to talk to you guys about Star Wars Battlefront. It is finally upon us, the open beta for all to enjoy, whether you're a PlayStation user, an Xbox user, or the PC Master Race. And this is actually a really interesting beta because they pretty much laid all the cards out on the table here. You got to see a little bit of each type of game mode. You got to kind of play around with a little bit of how the leveling system is going to work, how upgrades to guns work, how to buy new guns, and just an overall flow of the game. And I think this is a great way for people to finally make up their mind and determine for themselves if this is just a Battlefield reskin or if this game justifies a full $60 purchase. I'm going to switch over to some gameplay and talk a little bit to you guys about my experience with the demo so far. And notice I did use demo, not beta, because I really don't feel there's anything in this game that isn't already polished. Let's jump over to some gameplay and I'll tell you a little bit more. Alright, we are on the Battle of Hoth, which is a very iconic place in Star Wars lore. I think this is a great place to show off what this game is capable of. Now, if you guys are like me, you probably remember these scenes in the movie where Luke and the rest of the crew are running down the chasms of the Echo base, and the ceilings are kind of caving in and the wires in the way, and blasters are going off in the background as the evil Empire closes in to destroy, or try to destroy, the end of the Rebel Alliance. This game takes, or this map rather, takes place during that moment, and it involves the Empire controlling two AT-ATs. You could see one off in the horizon, slowly marching towards us, and it's up to us to go and find these two control points and kind of capture them, which creates satellite uplinks. After so many complete uplinks, a squadron of Y-Wings come in and destroy the AT-AT shields, which allow us all to focus fire and try to burn them down. This is actually a really fun objective map. You can see at the top there's kind of three staging areas. As we get pushed back farther, obviously we'll spawn closer to our home. Right now we're a little aggressive here, and we're able to kind of push up the front lines. This is the only place on this particular map where the rebels are really kind of at an advantage, because there's that big rock right there in the middle, and the Empire pours out on either side, and you could just stand here, and you'll see I do it for a few minutes, just kind of grenade spam and kind of chip away at least a little bit of the time for them. Anyways, what I was saying earlier is this beta, I mean, this really is a demo for all intents and purposes. There's really not much polish that this game needs in terms of graphics and core gameplay. There's a few nuances I noticed, and I'll get into those in a minute. But I guess the simplest thing to do is to talk about the good first, because there's plenty of it to go around. Now, unfortunately, my video capture software, which is the free OBS software, does not do this game justice, at least on my PC. I am running a NVIDIA 970X, and let me tell you how amazing this is. This game runs at 60 frames a second, 1080p, everything on maximum, with the additional resolution slider toggled an additional 30%. So about, it says 130. What it does is it does a little bit of extra upscaling, which gives the graphics just a little more crispness. I don't think they need it, but hey, why not? And I'm still able to maintain a rock solid 60 frames a second. You could see it in the upper right hand corner. Now obviously my software only records at 30 frames a second, and I'm sure there's some degradation in quality from my capture software. There's probably some degradation in quality in YouTube. But let me tell you, this game is beautiful. Every little detail that you would expect in a Star Wars game is here. Your footsteps on the snow, the blaster fire and the way it ricochets off of hallways and the sounds that it makes, the explosions and the really heavy guttural computer sounds that you hear when the ATs drop in orbital strikes and almost sound kind of stops for a second. I mean, Star Wars games have always been really well polished in the visual department. The gameplay sometimes varies from game to game, but I don't think anyone would argue that any of the old Star Wars games had an amazing soundtrack, amazing sound effects, and very immersive gameplay. It's because of that, and this game definitely has it. And just running around in the open field and hearing all the blaster fire and stuff around you, I mean, it's like you're taking part in the movies, and I think that is amazing. So, overall gameplay. Okay, so let me just wrap up on the graphics here real quick. They are gorgeous. Now, one other thing I wanted to mention was specific to graphics, that the system requirements for this game are pretty steep. I don't know if that's really the case. I feel as if maybe they're a little padded more than they should be. Considering I can run everything on max, doesn't really surprise me with the setup that I currently have, but for people who don't have a newer card, and for people who don't have a 64-bit version of Windows, I'm not really sure if that means you're out in the dark or if it just doesn't run as well. So I'm curious to see. Most of the video that I've seen from other PC players is mostly positive. I did get the demo on the PlayStation 4, and I did get a chance to play through it, and it looks pretty good for a PlayStation game. And obviously, I don't feel the visual polish is there, but I mean, you know, you're comparing PC to PlayStation, obviously. It's really no comparison, especially in a game like this. I mean, you do notice it on the textures up close on the PlayStation. The draw distance suffers a little bit. I assume Xbox has a similar fate. I've seen some videos talking about the two in terms of graphics scaling, and people saying, oh, well, it's not really 1080 on this, it's, you know, 900 or 720. I don't know. It is very polished, though, and I really can't stress that enough, whatever your particular console happens to be. Or computer, rather. So graphics, a complete home run. Sound effects, a complete home run. Gameplay. Now, it kind of reminds me of a cross of Battlefield, but it has a very Call of Duty-esque feel to it, especially as you see me flying around like a hyena with this jetpack just bouncing around like a madman. However, team gameplay is very heavily stressed, although it doesn't really do a good job of kind of emphasizing that. I mean, you do have a partner, and you do see that yellow outline of my partner that I will spawn on from time to time. I have no idea who this person is. It's completely random. No different than Battlefield in terms of like overall squads and that sort of thing. But this game definitely stresses gameplay. And again, it doesn't make it readily apparent, but let me tell you, when you're a lone wolf like I am, you'll see it is feast or famine. And in any engagement, when I am down or outnumbered, I always lose. I feel like if you had a good partner, a friend, someone who you could actually talk to in real life or use chat or whatever, and you guys coordinated attacks, I think you would find that you're much more dominant in the world, because your characters are surprisingly squishy with this blaster fire. They don't take a lot of hits. There's a sniper rifle, which I'm not currently using in lieu of a grenade right now. But those are very powerful one-shot weapons if you get a good headshot off. So it really does stress having that team gameplay. There's no revives or any classes that I have seen. If they have them, they've been a very good job of not revealing them to me. As it stands right now, you're just playing as a dude with a gun. You get to pick the kind of gun that you have, but the whole class system that I remember from the old Star Wars days seems to be absent. You basically can be anything at any time. If you want to be a crazy grenader dude with a jetpack like me, you can. If you prefer big heavy weapons, you could do that. There's some perks that give you more sniper type rifles and sniper perks. You could do that as well. Obviously, there's some vehicles in the game, and that's one of the weird things about this game is how the power-up system works. So scattered across the battlefield are these little blue, look like discs, and by picking up one of the discs, you can unlock that perk, and you use it pretty much instantly. It's pretty much as fast as you get it, whether it's a shield, a smart rocket launcher, or it could be a vehicle. You could pilot the AT-AT, which I have yet to do, the AT-ST, the A-Wing. There's tons of vehicles, TIE fighters. There's tons of vehicles and power-ups for you to use across the battlefield, but they're really kind of scattered, and I haven't really seen a pattern in terms of what particular thing spawns at what particular place. I mean, I have a pretty good feel now for what spawns at specific places, so like, if I really want to go fly, I kind of know where the best place to pick up a vehicle is, but I would prefer if this game had a little bit more of a reward in terms of commending, kind of like a kill streak in Call of Duty, where your battlefield prowess kind of helped determine what you would get. You could cash in almost for better stuff as you progressed or completed objectives or whatever. As it stands now, the people who get rewarded, and I use that word loosely, and getting to go play with Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker, which is freaking amazing, by the way, seeing them on the battlefield. Those are the guys that are just in the middle of a team fight and then just decide to run off in La La Land and go find one of these power-ups and decide to be Darth Vader. The guy who stands around like me and defends the control point and actually tries to play the objective and win, I'm not rewarded with anything. I'm just standing here kind of manning. I mean, this isn't, I'm not saying this is a chore by any means, but I would love to go out there and find a vehicle or a cool power-up, but as it stands, I mean, I'm kind of on defense duty. I mean, I might poke my head out here a little bit, but for the most part, I'm kind of playing the objective. And that's something that bothers me a little bit, is it kind of, you know, for as much as the game stresses this type of team play, it immediately turns around and then kind of rewards you to be a lone wolf and go off and get, you know, your own treasures and stuff and find these items. And I'm like, it just seems a little contradictory in nature to me. Gunplay and everything feels very smooth, very fluid. I think it's kind of odd that every single gun zooms in. It gives it kind of a cartoony feel when you zoom in and you just see this like giant scope. It would be nice if they actually showed the end of the gun when you were zooming in. It seems a little off to me. But that's just a minor nuance. It doesn't really affect gameplay too much. Obviously, health regeneration exists. Basically unlimited ammo as long as you let your gun cool down. That exists. Your specials and everything are on independent cooldowns that have specific timers associated with each of them. So there's that. But all in all, the gameplay feels really good to me. I feel like Luke, I'm sorry, I haven't played with Luke, but I'm sure he's the same as Darth Vader. I've played with Vader a few times. He doesn't feel, he feels a little wobbly, but I guess that's kind of what happens when you put a third-person kind of sword guy in a world of first-person shooters. And you can toggle between first and third person. There are perks for both. It's cool. You could switch pretty much on the fly. I prefer the first person. It's definitely a much more immersive experience for me. And I have pretty good SA in terms of kind of knowing what is around me to make sure that, you know, I don't need that third person. No, there's a lack of, there's no cover system. There's no prone. And a couple other things. So in a sense, this is kind of more of a dumbed down kind of run and gun type gameplay, which is okay, I guess. I think people who are wanting a little deeper tactical experience aren't going to find it here. This is definitely more entry level-esque in terms of overall controls and gameplay. You have your basic sprints and your jumps and that sort of thing, but some of the other more advanced stuff that you would kind of expect to see in a shooter doesn't exist. But for what this game is trying to achieve, I'm okay with that. The vehicles are fun. I'm not a very good pilot, as you could see here. I guess my sensitivity's too low, but I was jerking that control stick all over, or my mouse all over the place trying to get that thing to turn. And short of me doing a pre-programmed maneuver, I basically am just flying horribly. It is cool to have vehicles kind of do swoops down on you, although unfortunately on the ground there's really not much in the way, at least in the beta, to swat away at some of those airplanes that you would expect, like in Battlefield, for example, that has all the different rocket launchers, like a Javelin or something, where you can kind of swat back at those bigger vehicles. And that's what kind of gives a little bit of imbalance to me in terms of the AT-AT and the AT-ST. It takes 3 or 4 guys to kind of, you know, melt it down, and it'd be nice to have like a big rocket launcher. There is a power-up for that, but just as a standard, you know, if I want to go be like a vehicle hunter, I feel like I can't do that, and that's something in Battlefield that's a role I love to play in and one that I feel I really excel at. You don't get so much of that class distinction in this game, and I think that's what kind of forces everyone into this run and gun, whereas you may have people who prefer to play more of a support role, maybe like repairing things in the background, or more of a sniper sort of exists in this game. Ammo isn't an issue anymore, but the whole class system is pretty much gone, and you're all just kind of like a nameless, faceless dude who's just running out there and trying to take at least one guy with you before you go. So, will this get old? Man, I don't know. I'm definitely going to get it. I'm a huge enough Star Wars fan that, you know, short of this game just bricking, which I was pretty confident would not. I was planning on getting it anyway, but this beta, demo, whatever you want to call it, really does nothing but confirm to me that this game has all the polish in all the right places, and it is just a real lot of fun. I can't say enough good things about it. I'm sure that more people are going to have more negativity. Again, a lot of people seem to be really hung up on the fact that they feel this is like a reskin of Battlefield. I don't feel that at all. Yes, it is made by the same kind of people, and obviously it's leaning on the Frostbite engine, which is tried and true, but that's okay. It does good. It definitely feels immersive when your particular faction's music hits when you complete an objective. It really is cool. Running down, you know, seeing some of these really famous scenes, obviously like Hoth is really fun. I'm curious to see what other areas are going to be. And there's some other play modes that are still locked out. They've confirmed that there's going to be no microtransactions, which I think is great, but I expect to see a lot of DLC in terms of maps and new objectives in the future, and that's okay too. I think this game on its own, I don't know how much of the single-player experience is going to exist, but multiplayer is tight enough that I've been chewing through it a lot, and I think it's one of those games that I will definitely love to have in my library, even though I have to go through Origin to get it. And it's a no-brainer for me that I will be getting this on PC. So, anyways, just my thoughts on the game. There's probably a lot of other videos going on right now saying similar things, maybe different, but nothing but praise from me on this particular game. I think they did an amazing job, and I'm looking forward to getting the official complete edition with all the new game modes, and expect some more videos from me on this one, because I think it is a great entry into the Star Wars universe, and I think it is a solid shooter, and I think this is going to have some legs to it. So, as always, I want to thank you guys for watching. Please do me a favor, comment, rate, subscribe, let me know what you guys think about Star Wars Battlefront, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.